Hey guys, alright? Welcome everyone. In a frozen land, people lived in fear of a dragon that would abduct brides and kill them. The people sacrificed their daughters in a ritual that summoned the dragon, which then chose which bride to take. This ritual continued for years until a knight pursued the dragon to save the woman he loved. Although he arrived too late, he still killed the dragon and became known as the Dragon Slayer. Over the years, the brutal ritual transformed into a wedding ceremony. Generations passed, and now the land lives in peace. The Duke's daughter, named Miroslava, also known as Mira, will be married to the grandson of the Dragon Slayer Igor, the knight considered the most powerful in the land. At the dock, people sing Igor's arrival. As his hair is being braided by his sister, Yaroslava, also called Yara, Mira laments that there are no more dragons. Irritated by her childishness, Yara pulls Mira's hair and their argument escalates when Mira mocks Yara for being a spinster without true love. Their fight ends when the Duke, their father, arrives and scolds Mira for not behaving like a future duchess. He is certain that she and Igor will learn to love each other. Soon, it's time for her wedding. Wearing her elegant dress, she lies in a boat while women around her make offerings, and she is finally brought into the light. Unfortunately, Mira's special day turns into a nightmare. In reality, no one expected the dragon to be alive, and he took Mira through the stormy skies. After a while, she awakens, dirty, in a dark cave, scared and disoriented. She then remembers the wound on her side from the dragon's claws. The dragon took Mira to a remote island and left her inside the cave, causing her to lose her wedding dress before falling into a hole. Looking around, Mira finds the hole she fell through. Determined to survive, she climbs up and retrieves her hanging wedding dress, but a creature resembling a cat startles her, causing her to fall. She crawls back down, and the creature snarls at her, so she grabs a rock to defend herself. Suddenly, a male voice pierces the darkness, telling her to lie down and show her neck. The creature snarls and approaches, nearly biting Mira's neck, but then leaves her alone. Mira gets up and asks if the person speaking is her savior sent by Igor, but he denies it. So, she asks him to help her, as she is the Duke's daughter, but he sadly cannot. Mira concludes that he is also a prisoner. She discovers that the creature that nearly attacked her is the dragon's sentry. The dragon is asleep, the man says, but it's not safe to talk. Mira asks more questions, but he refuses to keep answering and tells her she's on her own. Desperate, Mira pounds on the wall, pleading, but stops due to her wound. Seeing this, the man asks why her people sang the dragon summoning ritual song. Mira replies that everyone believed the dragon no longer existed. The memory of her supposed wedding makes Mira cry. She remembers her boat on the water when her father and sister appeared before the crowd. Yara looked with disdain as Igor was welcomed with applause. Grabbing the rope attached to Mira's boat, he started pulling her as soldiers sang the ritual song. Suddenly, a snowstorm hit them. The dragon, long thought dead, appeared and took Mira's boat. The Duke tried to reach her, but the dragon was too fast. Igor held the rope tighter, and Mira fell from the small boat that carried her. Seeing that he would fall on Igor, his soldiers saved him at the last moment. Unfortunately, the dragon grabbed Mira in midair and flew away. In the cave, Mira sees a hand through a small hole. The man made a paste from crushed leaves to soothe her wounds, and Mira takes it. Through the hole, she sees her companion, who doesn't seem like a prisoner. Mira introduces herself, but her companion no longer remembers his name, as he never needed it. As Mira removes her clothes to apply the paste to his back wound, the man comments on her beauty. Confused about her embarrassment, he wonders why he can't look at her. Not caring about the question, Mira instead asks if he tried to escape, but he says the place is an island, and sailing wouldn't work. So, she plans to kill the sentry and escape while the dragon sleeps, but the man advises her to wait for the dragon slayer, as they could never escape the dragon. Irritated, Mira calls him a coward and seals the hole so that he can never see her again, regretting even thinking of giving him a name. She takes charge of the situation and cuts her braided hair. The voice speaks again and clarifies that he is not a coward, but the dragon is simply unbeatable. The man asks about the name Mira chose, and she names him Armand for being exotic and mysterious. With Armin apologizing and having a new name, Mira removes the stone covering the hole and extends her hand to introduce herself. But as soon as their hands touch, Armin pulls her in, shouting that it's the dragon who's there and she shouldn't try to escape. Then, suddenly, the dragon appears over the cave and roars at Mira. Rocks collapse around Mira as she huddles in a corner. When the dragon leaves, she tries to talk to Armin but becomes disheartened when there's no response. Irritated by the dragon, Mira takes her already cut braid, uses a stone to anchor herself, but falls while attempting to climb. Frustrated, she instead pounds a large rock against the wall until it finally gives way. Seeing embers in the air, Mira crawls through the hole. In the cave, she finds a corridor, but the dragon stands in her way. In panic, she inadvertently alerts the dragon, which chases her. She runs and hides in a small passage between rocks. The frustrated dragon breathes fire in her direction, but she shields herself and then runs further into the passage. The sentry creature also pursues her, and when Mira reaches a cliff, she sees how high up she is from the ground and the sea. Armin appears and warns her not to fall, but she doubts him when the sentry obeys him. Realizing she's been deceived, Mira starts to retreat and declares that the dragon won't get anything from her. She then falls despite Armin's attempts to persuade her to stay calm. As Mira falls, Armin suddenly catches her. His body glows red, shocking Mira. But he asks her to trust him, and suddenly he transforms into a dragon. Armin grabs Mira just in time as they crash into the rocks. When Mira wakes up, she sees the fallen dragon and crawls away, screaming for help. Meanwhile, Igor leads an expedition to save Mira. The helmsman questions whether Igor remembers the secret route through the mist that his grandfather mentioned, but he becomes irate with them for not being aware that the dragon is still alive. Back on the island, Mira screams for help when she notices embers behind her, seeing that the dragon has turned back into Armin. Terrified, Mira grabs a stone to hit him but hesitates. The sentry arrives and growls but runs past her, concerned about Armin, who is now by the water's edge, unconscious. Mira tries to walk away but feels guilty and pulls Armin out of the sea. The sentry comes back with Mira's torn wedding dress, which she uses to pull Armin up, all the while grumbling about saving the man who abducted her and promising to make him take her back home. Finally, Mira starts pulling Armin to the top of the location, which is actually a colossal dragon skull. Exhausted from the effort, she lies down next to him. But then she hears him mutter about killing the dragon and how its fire must be extinguished. Suddenly, Armin gets up and almost transforms again, as the spirit of the dragon tries to possess him, but he faints once more. Mira decides to descend, and while shouting for help, she finds an old boat stranded on the beach. Though she wants to sail away, she abandons the idea when she sees a storm approaching. Instead, she runs back to Armin and seeks shelter, finding a broken ship's mast that she uses to create a makeshift tent. When she finishes, she hears Armin speak in his sleep again, now about having his own name. Seeing that Armin is injured, Mira crushes some leaves and applies them to his wounds before using her sleeve as a bandage, all the while begging him not to burst into flames. Which he almost does, so Mira sings him a lullaby to calm him, which works. That night, Mira shivers in the cold, so she moves closer to Armin to get warmth from his body. She dreams that Igor has come to save her, but when she embraces him, she suddenly sees that it's Armin pulling her close. Though she resists at first, she starts to give in to a possible kiss. But soon, Mira wakes up and finds herself covered in a blanket, with a fruit beside her. While savoring the fruit, she sees Armin fishing below. But when she goes down to talk to him, he simply ignores her. Mira confronts him for being indecisive and unpredictable, demanding that he just say something. As Armin doesn't seem to want to harm her, the girl asks why he doesn't take her home. He then replies that it's not that simple. He tells his life story about not wanting to become a dragon like his father after finding a chest full of human objects. However, when he witnessed his father being killed, he was overwhelmed by anger and ended up becoming a dragon. He then saw the memories of the previous dragons and their monstrosities. Swearing to end the dragons and become human again one day, Armin lived in isolation and locked himself in the narrow passage within the cave to suppress the dragon's spirit when it emerged. Everything was fine until he heard the ritual song sung during Mira's wedding, and he couldn't resist the call. He only regained consciousness with Mira in his claws. The cave was actually his sanctuary, as the dragon's spirit awakens every time he touches her, which is why he can't take her home. So, Mira must wait for the dragon slayer, because if he comes, Armin states that he won't stop her from leaving. After that, guiding Mira to see the whole island, Armin tells her that the entire place is the skeleton of a colossal dragon, which was his ancestor. Armin says that from where they are, they can see the blue sky, but around them, outsiders only see dense fog where they get lost until they die. Only the heart of a young woman in love can guide a traveler through the fog to this place, and if Mira loves Igor, he will be able to find her. Kneeling by the seashore, Mira picks flowers and tells Armin what this means, saying that giving flowers is an expression of love. When she throws the flowers into the sea, Armin asks if Igor will come. She answers yes, so Armin quickly changes his mood and says he wants Mira to wait for Igor in the cave, as the dragon couldn't catch her there, but as he says this, he stumbles as he moves away. Mira tries to help him, but he warns her to stay away, as the dragon will come, and she'll be in danger. Mira asks why the dragon hasn't come yet, wondering if Armin's human side isn't becoming stronger. Mira promises that while waiting for Igor's arrival, she will teach Armin to live like a human. After that, Mira decides to make Armin's hideout more habitable. Dragging some shipwreck items, they make the place more lively. Armin compliments Mira's beautiful hair, and when Mira envies dragons for being able to fly anywhere, Armin admits that their flight was the first. Then, the two enjoy each other's company. On the beach, Armin reveals that dragons can see the wind, and he offers to show Mira. Armin lets petals dance in the air while Mira watches in awe. The two lock eyes, and then it starts to rain. In his hideout, the sentry finds Mira's bag full of supplies, but Mira assures him that she won't escape. Still, she packs her things just in case. All dressed up, Armin loves how his home has become cozier. Mira gives him a flute and plays a lullaby because she wants it to be his birthday, the birth of a new man. Though Armin wants to forget his birth, Mira assures him that she is happy with his new birth. Armin also has a gift for her, by the cliff wall. As Mira closes her eyes, Armin sets off some fireworks, leaving the girl amazed as she watches. Finding this sweet, Mira feels the urge to hold Armin's hand, but due to his fear of transforming, she only grabs his clothing. That night, Mira awakens because a spark falls on her cheek. She looks for Armin but finds the dragon, which chases her until it blocks her path. Extending her hand, Mira cautiously approaches and touches his chest. She feels his heartbeat, but the heat burns her hand. Now afraid, she runs but is knocked down by the dragon lunging at her. But this is only a dream, and Mira wakes up screaming. Armin is near her, concerned that something is wrong, but Mira says it was just a bad dream. She explains that dreams show people the things they fear and desire, and she admits that she's afraid of the dragon. Armin then promises that the dragon will never harm her because he was reborn thanks to Mira. When he leaves, Armin sits near the fire and plays the instrument he received while Mira listens. She wishes him good night, and he does the same. The next day, while Mira bathes in a natural pool in the area, Armin gets nervous while holding a bouquet he intends to give her. After the bath, Mira dons a red dress and starts making a kind of kite, and Armin finally decides to give her the bouquet. He approaches where she is, but then due to his nervousness, the dragon begins to try to possess him, and the flowers burn in his hand. He struggles and resists until Mira finds him to show the kite, saying it's a dragon that can't fly unless he teaches it to see the wind. Finding her a fool due to her lingering anger towards the dragon, Armin asks her why Igor hasn't come to rescue her yet, but it's clear it's because Mira doesn't love him. Realizing this, and now calm, he decides to teach her to see the wind. Mira quickly learns, and the kite soars away. Mira's hand touches Armin, and the spirit of the dragon within responds. Due to the heat, the kite string breaks and it drifts away, as does Armin, who disappears, leaving her alone there. Surprised by his departure, Mira searches for him, but Armin is busy using the flute to calm himself. When he regains his composure, Armin finds Mira's boat and realizes she wants to escape. Finding Mira, Armin tells her to approach the altar. He asks if she ever wondered why there isn't a single skeleton on the island, even though many young women have lost their lives there. According to Armin, dragons are born from brides burned alive. He warns her that the same fate awaits Mira. Armin reminds Mira that he is a monster who will never live as humans do and that it's right for her to fear him. He believes Mira's actions show how much she desires to escape the maps, the fireworks she could use to signal ships, and finally, seeing the wind. Armin tells Mira to follow the east wind because it will take her to the open ocean. Mira says the new man needs her, but Armin tosses the flute at her feet and orders her to go. He rushes to the narrow passage to restrain the dragon, and Mira can do nothing but leave. The next morning, Mira walks to the boat and lets the pedals guide her way, eventually sailing away. The sentry chases her, and she pleads for him to stay with Armin. Unbeknownst to her, Armin is weak in the passage. Meanwhile, Igor's men are aimlessly sailing for days, and everyone is on edge. Frustrated, Igor orders the helmsman to turn back, but he challenges Igor to protect his family's honor. Angry, Igor threatens the helmsman's life, saying that Mira will send a signal to let them know where to go. However, as she hasn't sent one, it means she's already dead. Suddenly, fireworks light up the sky, and Mira's boat emerges through the fog. Already on the boat with the men, to protect Armin, she lies about the dragon crashing into the cliffs and dying. When the helmsman insists on making sure the dragon is dead, Mira begs Igor that she just wants to go home. Sometime later, everyone seems to be happy at last, and Mira's wedding ceremony continues from where it left off. Yara assures Mira that she will forget the nightmare as her new life begins. But Armin, on his island, wonders where he fits in. He is grateful to Mira for the fleeting hope. The Duke arrives to greet Mira, wanting to tell her something important. As he plays with shadows, Armin realizes that he has experienced love and vows that the dragon will never harm Mira, and he cries. Mira cries too, as her father tells her to choose who she loves. Using the wind, Mira sends a paper dragon flying. She tells Yara about the pain of being away from the one she loves, and Yara thinks she's referring to Igor. Now, Yara has nothing against the wedding because they have proven their love, as only true love can find the dragon's island. Armin imagines kissing Mira and wishes her happiness as he bids farewell. The wedding ritual takes place again, and a child-sized dragon candy catches Mira's attention. Meanwhile, Armin stands on the precipice in the rain, holding his flute. The paper dragon lands under Igor's boot, and he pulls the rope of Mira's boat. At the same time, Armin leaps off the cliff to end his life. The dragon awakens again, but Armin soothes it with his flute. As Igor pulls the boat, Mira realizes she can't do it and sits down to declare that she doesn't love Igor, shocking everyone. Igor thinks she's foolish since he rescued her, but Mira screams that she loves the dragon. The crowd erupts into chaos. Igor tries to pull the rope, but Mira takes it from the boat. She stands up and sings the ritual song to summon Armin, despite Igor's warnings that the dragon will kill them all. The Duke looks quietly at his daughter as the crowd remains silent, and Yara's eyes fill with tears. When Mira finishes singing, no dragon arrives. She waits in anticipation, but Igor orders his men to take Mira away. At that moment, the winds intensify, and the paper dragon soars upward just as Armin arrives and takes Mira away. The Duke accepts his daughter's decision, but Igor tries to spear the dragon. Luckily, his helmsman punches him, much to Yara's relief. Armin flies with Mira and sets her down at the altar. The dragon tries to burn her, but Mira kisses its face. It startles and retreats, and Mira realizes it's accustomed to being feared when it wants to be loved. The dragon roars, but Mira remains calm because she loves Armin, whether he's human or dragon. Mira kneels and asks Armin, the dragon, to stay a little longer so she can get used to him. He doesn't hesitate and rests his head in Mira's lap, a sign that he loves her too. Years pass, and Armin tells this story to his daughter. When she wants to learn more, Mira comes and lays her down in bed. She tells her daughter that the happiness love brings gives people wings to fly. As her daughter sleeps, Armin asks Mira to come with him, leaving the sentry to protect the child. Armin stands in the sunlight and transforms into a dragon as Mira approaches. She caresses Armin's head, mounts him, and they fly away. In the air, Armin turns into a human, and they soar among the clouds. Then, in a golden sky, they share a kiss of love.